That's one of the big ones where you kind of like lose faith in crypto when you're stuck
Yeah.
in in that situation
Oh
where
god.
you're like, I don't have the gas now. What? I'm going to some exchange, and then like it's just kills you. But you've lost hours suddenly. You know.
Hey, I mean, that was the big use case that we started with. We were the first protocol who could do this.
I was talking about crypto, of course, more specifically about bridging, general message passing across blockchains, sort of interoperability as an umbrella term. All right, guys, thank you for tuning into another episode of the Teach Me DeFi podcast. We're doing another episode with a lovely guest on the show, and we'll be talking about sea monsters of sorts or other kinds of monsters. Basically, ocean-related themes here, but we'll still be talking about crypto, of course. More specifically about bridging, general message passing across blockchains, sort of interoperability as an umbrella term. We got Fig here from Squid. Hi, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey guys. Yeah, thanks for having me, Sal. Really nice to be here.
Lovely. Yeah. Lovely to have you on the show. Let's start off with naming. I mean, for one, Squid, how did that come about? But also, is Fig your actual name, or is that like a Web3 moniker kind of thing?
um, I'll start with Squid. So you're here, I guess, or the guests were here, but Squid connects many different chains, and so it's a little bit like the tentacles of the squid. But we actually had the name given to us. Like one of our very close partners, Axelar, had Squid as sort of a code name for something, and we took it and used that. So we've been careful not to. We don't use squids literally in our branding. You'll notice none of our websites have squids on them, but
Right.
I guess the soul is there, and it's also nice. It sounds a bit like quid. You know, in the UK they call pounds quid. All
Yeah.
these similar, these like Web2 payments protocols like Square and Stripe, and they're these short kind of names. So I think
True.
it works well with that. Fig is actually what most people call me now. It is a pseudonym, but um, yeah, that's just my name. Yeah.
Sweet. You like figs a lot, or what is it?
Where did fig come from? Yeah, I actually plant a lot of fig trees. Or I have planted a lot of
Right.
fig trees. One of my favorite trees is um, it's called a modern bay fig, which is a big Australian tree. I'm from Australia and planted a few of those back home, and get to see them every now and then when I fly back to Australia. I love figs, of course. They're a bit like a flower that's like turned inside out on itself, and when you eat
Yeah.
it, you see all the petals and bits of pollen inside. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm dabbling a little bit in gardening, but I mean we got some plants on the balcony, but um I mean I don't know how much of a green thumb I have. I haven't been taking care of them as much as I should probably.
And we're tending to DeFi is a little bit like tending to plants. You're always managing and watering different ones,
Yeah.
and moving them. Yeah.
Sweet, sweet. I lived in Australia for a year, by the way. I forgot to mention this when we talked off screen.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, you see so much cool like just plants and nature there. One of the trees that's really iconic, I believe, there, and I haven't seen anywhere else, is a jacaranda tree.
I love jacarandas. The house where I grew up, the street is lined with jacarandas, and
Yeah,
in spring it just lights up with purple flowers. The whole thing is like this
yeah,
is raining purple. Yeah, they're beautiful trees.
so nice, so
I think
beautiful.
they're from South America, maybe. Um,
Really?
yeah, then I don't know if they're native to Australia, but yeah, they're everywhere there for sure.
Oh, all right, all right. Cool. Let's just hear a bit about yeah, just Squid. Like, what is it? I mean, I think it would also be interesting to kind of weave Axelar into that as well and kind of explain like what the general topic is, maybe especially to like beginners or non-technical viewers. And then also like how Axelar and Squid relate to each other, perhaps just to understand this whole concept and structure.
Yeah, okay. So Squid is a protocol and app that is meant to allow you to access anything in crypto. So really efficiently, if you have USDC on one chain and you're trying to get to an application, you can get there in one click. Maybe that's bridging, maybe it's cross-chain swapping, could be purchasing something like an item for a game. But it's really about access. So um, we started with cross-chain swaps, which lets you swap any token on one chain, like ETH into AVAX, ETH into Atom if you're in the Cosmos. And then you can compose that with more logic. You can, like I said, do the swap, and then after the swap, buy the NFT. But we do all of that in one click. We have this kind of one click policy where everything you do should be very similar to Web 2, where you go to a Shopify website and you click buy and it just buys it. You don't have to think about what chain the item or even what country the item that you're purchasing is on. Um, we've we've got this problem with crypto where all the different blockchains are not very well connected, and they've been, everyone's. I love the diversity that pops up in crypto with like different types of consensus mechanisms,
Yeah.
different ways of scaling. You get cheap transactions, but you just need a way of connecting all of that together. So that's where Squid's trying to solve the problem. Um, how we do this is we take a really modular approach. We try to connect everything by plugging into modules which already exist. Um, Things like Uniswap. Uniswap allows you to swap on single chain, and then bridges or general messaging protocols like Axelar. A general messaging protocol is something which you might have heard, like IBC, like zero wormhole, these kinds of things, which um, allows you to not just send tokens across, but send some data with it. And so we can send a program where we swap. Say you have ETH on Ethereum and you want to get Matic on Polygon. We swap the ETH to USDC on Ethereum, and then we send this general message across Axelar, which is bridging some USDC, and it sends the instructions on what to do on the Polygon side. So you get to Polygon, and then maybe you swap the USDC into Matic on the other side. And Squid's job is to take all of this complexity and like bundle it up so that the user just does it in one click. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, Axelar is the main cross-chain protocol that we use, and we chose them because they were the most secure by far, and also the most generalizable. We cover 65 chains, including
Mm.
15 EVM chains, I guess 50 Cosmos chains, and then soon we have Solana coming, Sui, Bitcoin, Polkadot, a bunch of others.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think you mentioned that it's kind of lovely to have all this diversity across crypto, but as you said, it makes user experience more of an issue and kind of like making things interoperable. So, yeah, what's that experience been like? Because you guys are obviously trying to tackle that. You mentioned 65 chains. Um, how complex has it been? How sustainable is this? Yeah.
It's been a really fun journey because every time we go to a new chain, we get to learn about that whole ecosystem, all the new tools that they have, and then the challenges are, how does gas work over there? Like gas is different on all these chains. The way transactions are often, the data that is emitted from each of the chains is in a slightly different format, or there's quirks everywhere. So um, the first year of Squid, so we launched a year ago. I haven't mentioned anything about our growth, but we launched a year ago and we've done really well. We're partnered with 200, 300 protocols now,
Mm.
and 1.3 billion in volume. And along that journey, we just aggressively grew through all of the chains that we supported. And every time we added a chain, you have to deal with more complexity. It would sort of add in to like what Squid does. It handles the ball of complexity that we handle that got bigger and bigger. Um, and I think what we've found now is we've gotten a really nice abstraction that all of these chains sort of follow a similar pattern that will allow us to scale to every chain much faster, I think, than say a new project or how we were a year ago. So coming up with coming up against problems along the way, we found these common issues and we've like abstracted them into modules where okay, we recognize that problem for this chain. Okay, that will build a new layer of a new implementation into the module for that chain, and it just makes it. We've streamlined it really well. So I think that's mostly our job is just um, as we expand through chains, we recognize the differences and we make it really simple, not only for the user but for ourselves when we expand.
Mm,
Um, because we believe that there'll be thousands of chains in the future. Um, Maybe not all of them will have many users, but we want to be able to support all of them. We want to have a solution where you can go to Squid and you can get that token or you can use this application. Um,
mm. Cool. So you've actually found commonalities just during that experience of docking to all these chains, and so that helped you to kind of make things or set up things in a way that you can now deploy to more or connect to more chains more easily. Is that what that means basically?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll see on our website or in our app, we have Squid V1 and Squid V2. And a lot of what that Squid V2 work has been is creating these correct abstractions so that
Mm.
we'll be able to scale a lot faster.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, let's talk about growth and scaling in a bit. I just like to know, like at the moment, how do users mostly use Squid? What would kind of like that journey look like at the moment, most of the time? Just so viewers get an idea what they could do with Squid at the moment.
Let's use the Celestia airdrop as an example. I don't know
Hmm.
if the users would have heard of Celestia, your listeners, but big chain and it's a Cosmos chain specifically, which makes it quite hard to get to for most users in crypto. They did this airdrop; it was worth a ton of money, and the Tier token also has done really well. So not only do we have people who are receiving Tier and want to either sell parts of it and move it out of the ecosystem, but we have new users trying to go in and buy a tier. Um, so imagine you're a user who has funds and they want to buy some tier. Usually the journey would have been you may have had to go to like 5 or 6 different websites just to do this. And in crypto, every time you go to a new website, there's this possibility that it's a scam. It's
Yeah,
really scary.
yeah.
Um, And so we let you do all of that in one. You go to our website or one of our partners, and you select one of the tokens in your wallet that you have. Maybe you have USDC on Arbitrum, and you want to buy some TIA. So you select Arbitrum on the source chain. I could even share my
Hmm.
screen, but Arbitrum on the source
Yeah,
chain. Yeah.
yeah, we
Maybe.
can do that. Yeah, that would be cool. It's more
Yeah.
tangible.
Yeah. Sure. I'll do that. All right. So let's go through a transaction on Squid. So this is the Squid app, um, and very soon it's going to have a beautiful upgrade. We've got new designs, which I'm really excited about. We'll get into that later, though. So you connect your wallet up. I'm going to connect MetaMask.
I actually
Um,
like the design already. I was on your website and it
mm,
really stuck out to me. And I've been on a lot of crypto websites, and
oh,
I did something about the design that moved with your mouse as well. Was
uh,
kind of zen.
yeah. Um, Router.com. Yeah. The we really love the homepage. You can spray paint using the mouse for
Ah,
users.
yeah, spray paint. Yeah.
A lot of people just say that they've done it for hours and just gone in circles. Um, anyway, so uh, the use case here is imagine I want to buy Tier, which is a new chain that's popped up and it's really exciting. You want to buy the coin for whatever reason, so you can put in Celestia
Hmm.
as the chain that you're going to, and Tier. Um, and I think I have some funds on Cello right now, so I'm going to select Cello.
Hmm.
Um, and you can see all the funds you have. One nice feature actually that Squid has is if hopefully it works for this demo, but
Hmm.
if you click all networks, we check your wallet address on all of the networks. In this case, MetaMask is EVM, so we only support 15 chains. But you can
Yeah.
see, yeah, this is my entire portfolio now. This is obviously a testing account, um, and
Nice. Yeah.
you can say you want to buy a token. You can quickly see, okay, what do I want to sell, or what do I want to use to buy this um,
Mm.
token, right? And so, yeah, I selected Solo USDC, and you need to add an address on the destination chain. This is one of the big problems we had to solve, was you actually need two wallets connected to the app in this case, because MetaMask doesn't support Cosmos wallets in most
Right.
cases. I think we might be getting some demo failure, but um, let's see if it adds now. I'm logged in. Oh, maybe not. Okay. So instead, what you can do is copy your Celestia address. Oh, maybe that's what's happening. We
Right.
don't actually have Celestia enabled on Kepler.
Ah, right.
So this is like some of the some of the like this has got nothing to do with this with Squid because it's on the
Yeah. It's
wallet.
basically the nuance of like wallets just shows you that there's still, like a complete beginner would not know to add the chain or whatever on the Kepler wallet. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's there's a long way to go. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think Squid is. We don't have any short term plans of making a wallet, but that's probably where the biggest user experience problem is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we the Squid backend is now getting a price for going from Seller USDC to TIA on Celestia, and this route is actually super complicated. You're swapping on a DEX on Celo, and then we bridge it across to a DEX in Cosmos called Osmosis.
Hmm.
We swap it there into TIA, and then we
Hmm.
bridge it from Osmosis off to Celestia. So you've actually got two bridge steps, and you can imagine if you're doing this manually, you'd have to do all of them, wait for each one to
Yeah.
complete, and then it yeah, the user experience is prohibitive. So um, we were super excited when we enabled this. Let's see.
Oh, by the
So
way, these animations, they're also fun to look at while you're just waiting. I like those.
yeah, that's so cute, right?
Yeah.
We've got a really cool branding agency who do all of our illustrations. Um,
Sweet.
yeah. So this might take a while, so we don't have to watch it, but that was an example of the process, and you can track some of it on. This is Axelar scan.
Right.
You can see it's going to osmosis first, and then there'll be a swap, and then it goes to Celestia.
Actually, for people who have used crypto for a while and have bridged, like across chains, they know that it can be quite a hassle. Like you said, like all these steps, like I don't know, like you just can't be arsed to do them, Like you go to osmosis and then to this and that, and especially if you haven't used those specific app chains then before, you have to kind of get used to the user interface of them to do a swap there and all that, and even just the connecting the wallet, or like you said, just like setting up the app chain in the Kepler wallet. All these things are kind of friction, right? So it's really nice to see how you guys are abstracting away as much as you can by the basically.
Yeah, as much as we can. Thanks. Yeah, we're trying to make it as easy as possible. Even that example you saw with the Kepler, I'm thinking in the background. I think we can probably solve that. I think we can maybe trigger an addition of the network automatically. And these are all the kinds of things that we're dealing with. But it's so satisfying because if we get that right, then every time someone goes to Tia now and they haven't added Celestia, we're saving someone potentially hours of like research just to discover that's what you have to do. So yeah, it feels like it's that technology thing where you have a fixed cost and then this huge upside for the community. Um,
Right.
it's been really satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, basically, if you could just check if Tia the Celestia chain is set up, and if it isn't, you'd trigger that addition. Um,
Exactly.
that would be fine. Yeah. Um, so, what's the difference? Because I have used Squid before. I believe I've used Stellar Swap.
Yeah, yeah.
The right the decks on Moonbeam. Um, so that they had like a cross chain tab or whatever where you could like cross chain swap, I believe, and I think they routed through Squid, right?
Yeah, exactly. They were one of our first partners. Love their team. They're really all really nice people and really smart. Um, yeah, so this was one of our first sort of first strategies when we launched. Um, because of the way that we route, we could go to a DEX like Stellar Swap and say we can route through your DEX every time you're on Moonbeam, but then route through anyone on other chains. And effectively, this is a bit like making your DEX cross chain. So anytime someone wants to go in or out of Moonbeam, or even within Moonbeam, it goes through Stellar Swap. It's still them, but then they get these cross chain functionalities on top. Um, so it's a really nice sell to a bunch of different DEXs that we partnered with, and generally what we're it's a feature that they can add, but also onboarding onto their app, which is focused on the Moonbeam ecosystem, is a lot easier. And they don't have to limit themselves to just users who are already in the Moonbeam ecosystem. They can now sort of they expand and advertise to others.
And is it basically the same thing then as to go to your website and cross chain send swap tokens cross chain? Is it the same thing? It was just interesting to me because um, I hadn't like sent used the bridge in a while recently, and then I wanted to do it, and then I was actually not sure where to go to. I had all these like bookmarks of different bridges or whatever, but then you know what that part of crypto is like, right? All the hacks and everything. I didn't
Exactly.
know what the landscape currently looked like. I didn't know which website is still, I don't know, up to date, still safe to use, whatever.
Yeah.
So I just remembered the thing on Stellar Swap. So I went there and that's why I'm asking, because there essentially I could just bridge from any chain to any chain. Um, so is that the same thing as going to your website? And then also, um, is it basically a win-win for you and your partners, like Stellar Swap, that implements Squid, or is there something else in terms of, for example, does Stellar Swap gain a fee from me using Squid on their website versus using Squid on your website?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, It is pretty much the same. It's not exactly the same because if you went to the Squid website, we also route via BeamSwap, and so we would check
Ah.
which has the better price, BeamSwap or StellarSwap, if you go to our website. But on StellarSwap, all the other chains, it's exactly the same. And as Squid expands to new chains, StellarSwap's cross-chain DEX functionality also gets upgraded. Um, Fees are currently at zero. No one gets any fees. Stellar Swap doesn't get any. We don't get any. But we really love the idea of fee sharing. We want to turn fees on one day because we have to exist. We have to be a
Mm.
sustainable business, not just a meme coin. Not that we have a coin or anything, but
Yeah,
VC funded startup. Um,
yeah.
and so I really like the idea of charging fees, a very small fee, hopefully imperceptible to most people, but sharing it with Stellar Swap, for example. So when people do go through their website, um, they're getting a percentage of the fees generated from volume, and we'll get some too. And then I think it's a really nice thing to have because most crypto projects don't have any way of making money, and any transfer of value or exchange of value, there are a bunch of fees being taken out, like gas fees. We pay Ethereum gas fees all the time, even though we don't get any of that. The DEXs, the LPs get fees, the bridges get fees. So the front ends and the APIs like us and front end tools should also get a little bit of the stack.
Right. Yeah, I think that that makes sense. I'm glad you mentioned sustainability yourself. That's not that cannot be taken granted in crypto. Someone bringing it up themselves. Um, no, that's good to hear. And one of my questions was geared towards that. You answered them already. You mentioned growth as well. So yeah, just can you share a bit? Actually, before we do that, what I wanted to say was. Basically it's also a nice way to grow with partners, what you said, right, like revenue sharing basically. So that should
Yeah,
be good too.
yeah. Revenue sharing is it's such a great way to. Um, we don't have a network per se, but we are a network of partners who are all benefiting from each other. You do have a network effect s- um, in within the Squid network. It's a bit like Visa. Visa has network effects between the users who have Visa cards, the store owners who accept Visa payments, the banks who have money which is connected up. They connect up to the Visa network to um, allow payments through Visa as well. And with Squid, it's similar where every new DEX that's added, um, for Stellar Swap, if we add a DEX like Osmosis and Cosmos, both Stellar Swap and Osmosis are benefiting from each other being connected into the network. They're not competitive at all, really, because they're one's on Moonbeam, one's on Osmosis. And as we add more and more DEXs, every single DEX who's already connected to Squid gets a lift up in functionality, in potentially total users, and our users benefit too because now we've got more liquidity. It's yeah, it's a really nice way to to grow, and up until now, that's been enough. We haven't needed revenue sharing to grow like this. Like everyone wants to onboard more users into the app, and that's really the value that we're providing. But yeah, if we can provide also a little bit of fees and bit of revenue, then that's a great bonus.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of these chains, sometimes, there's a lot of ghost chains as well, or just like in general, it's
Yeah.
tricky in terms of you're siloed away. You're kind of dependent on how well the blockchain is doing in terms of gaining users, gaining traction, gaining adoption, and that might be like a small kind of pool in which you can grow. So essentially Squid kind of like extends this more easily to the rest of the ecosystem, so you can also tap into users from somewhere else.
Yeah, there's this thing we've said before where a developer shouldn't have to choose where they build based on the community, or number of users.
Yeah.
Though that is a good reason as well. They should also be able to choose just based on the best technology for their app. And DYDX, one of our partners, is a perfect example of this, where they built a Cosmos chain because it was the best technology for a decentralized derivatives platform. And they moved from an Ethereum rollup to this chain. And through using Squid as an onboarding and offboarding layer from that chain, they were able to choose the best technology for the app, but still have access to the full addressable market and communities of not only Ethereum, but also of the other 60 chains that we support. So I think it's an by allowing this to happen, we should be improving the speed of innovation in the space because we prevent this centralization of all apps on one platform. If another platform can add slightly better technology, maybe it's faster transactions, it's cheaper, better development language, whatever, then developers will start using it, and they're not stuck on this like platform lock-in, which I think we see in Web2 a lot. It's very hard for anyone to compete with the App Store on Apple or maybe the Android App Store because you're never going to get any users. That there's just no point in developing an app for something else. And something I really love about Web3 and part of the Squid vision and ethos is that it maybe we won't centralize on one solution in the end. Like maybe the point of crypto is that we will continue innovating forever. And that's just what capitalism allows for. It allows for uh, really fast rate of innovation, and for users and capital to move to where the best new thing is.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's why we're taking this really modular approach to interoperability, where we're not building like the one solution where we just do everything for the user. We're plugging into the wallets, the interop protocol, the dexes, wherever the current top level of innovation is for each part of what's needed. We can just plug into that rather than saying, no, that's not part of what Squid does. Like, we do it this way. I don't know if that comes across, but it's something I've been thinking
Yeah.
about recently.
Yeah, that's an interesting train of thought. I was just wondering about how you said maybe there's no platform lock-in compared to Web two, and then we would just be innovating all the time, and there'd be, but at the same time, that would perhaps mean that you would be kind of like um have no like planning safety, or like if you have no lock-in or user base, it's kind of like tricky to keep developing something, right? Or if you keep getting vampire attacked by other protocols, or like users keep just airdrop farming your project and going on to the next project and whatever, um like are you actually creating value for users then still? But then at the same time, if you look at the big protocols on Ethereum, they still have large market share, like Uniswap and or Aave and things like that. So there still seems to be some sort of natural lock-in.
Yeah, I love the thoughts. It's actually good sometimes to have centralization, because you get to just, once you've discovered
Yeah.
a good idea or a good technology, it's good to just drive forwards, put everything into that, and like decide on one solution in a way. But you're right, this has happened. Uniswap has somehow, it has lock-in, even though it's been forked like thousands of times at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but also all the forks, maybe a lot of them don't actually have that much value, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't survive. Forks like Stellar Swap and Beam Swap should survive because they serve a like very specific purpose, and they have real users and an ecosystem that supports them. But it's a good thing that rather than maybe some of these protocols suddenly getting a ton of users because of maybe an airdrop or a meme coin, and um, rather than them getting locked in, they should be able to be like, okay, this actually doesn't have much use. Maybe we move somewhere else. And I hate it as much as everyone else that we just have this crazy, like, useless movement of people around it. It appears useless, but maybe maybe it also has some value, because all these DeFi users aren't. Um, I think they're actually really um, sort of useful early adopters of technology, that they're ready to try something out and lose money, when a normal person probably wouldn't be willing to take the risk on this. Um, that's, I'm one of those people. I go and try crazy things, within
Yeah.
reason. It's I think you got a good point about stability. Like, stability is what allows innovation to happen. You need some kind of stability for someone to be like, okay, I want to make more money in US dollars, or in Bitcoin. So I have an incentive to go and do something crazy to fix someone's problem. Um, if there was no store of value in the first place, and like stability, and then there'd be no reason to do anything. So yeah, it's definitely a mix, but compared to Web two, I think we're in a much better place.
Right. Yeah. So you do value the optionality, basically, that users get in
Yeah,
Web three.
exactly.
Yeah. That's a fair take, I think. And um, yeah, I mean, for example, the case that I mentioned where I wasn't sure which website I could still go to do the thing, the bridging, right?
Mhm.
That is an example of like which could not be beneficial to users. For example, it would be nice to know where I can go and not have, and also not have to worry about, like you said, okay, maybe this protocol is not that adopted anymore. Maybe it doesn't have that many users, hence it doesn't have perhaps as much revenue, even though that's a whole different topic in terms of how profitable these protocols are. but yeah, and then they have less revenue, and maybe they're less battle tested, then less secure, less audited, whatever. And perhaps I'm actually taking up more risk than without knowing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting question for me because obviously I want Squid to be the one place that, like, the Uniswap of cross moving funds around.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe we're still in this phase where it's being decided, or the the winners are still being decided. Um, but I think it's consolidating a bit. Like, you'll find there are only a few protocols who generally people go to move funds around, and we're one of them. And we've solved this problem, and we will keep making it easier and easier. But maybe this level of the stack is starting to become more stable, and and then the next thing, whatever that is where, the next 10 websites that could do the same thing won't be the same a month later. Yeah, I think of it sort of progressing in that sort of step by step fashion.
Well, speaking of, what does the landscape currently look like? Like, who are you competing with, or what protocols? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main competitors we have are Li-Fi is one, and Jumper Exchange. We are also friends with them and integrate with them, but if you just compare what you can do with either, it's Li-Fi. Socket is another one. They have an website called Bungee. Um, these two are bridge aggregators, which is slightly different to what we do, but similar use
Hmm.
case. Rango Exchange, and then if you look also down the stack, you might have heard of a cross to really efficient bridging between chains.
Hmm. No, I don't know.
Not as wide a scope as us, but they do. So if you want to get ETH to another roll up, then they do that.
Hmm.
They do it really well. So yeah, those are the people that we think of mostly as, like, Stargate from Layer Zero. Everyone would have heard of, but yeah, they haven't done much for a while. So.
So why wouldn't a wormhole be on that list, for example?
Wormhole is a competitor more so to Axelar, which is that
Hmm.
the general message passing layer, and they do have an app for bridging, but um, I don't think people use it. They don't think about that when they're thinking about doing something with Squid. It's
Mm,
more very specific. You can bridge to and from Solana from Ethereum, but you can't do any of the cross-chain swaps or NFT purchases and staking, all these things that Squid does.
right. And those competitors you mentioned, are they also using Axelar to provide this?
No, none of them use Axelar.
Oh.
We're the gateway into Axelar for a lot of users and protocols. Li-Fi, for example, instead of using Axelar, is using us as the way of bridging to Axelar supported chains.
All right. And what are they built on then? You guys are using Axelar. What are they using? Or yeah.
Yeah, so they're more of an aggregator. Where our job is to, like, make it very simple, and you just and one click to get from A to B. They'll say, I want to go from A to B, and provide you with five or six different options.
Mm,
Um, and we just prefer the more seamless user experience of, you don't have to think about anything. Like, we're just going to decide it for you, and we're going to give you the best price and the fastest one anyway. But the other thing is that I think aggregation doesn't make quite as much sense with bridging. With swaps, it makes a lot of sense because you have a huge number of undifferentiated solutions. Like, you could have like 20 different forks of Uniswap, and they all have liquidity, which is essentially the same. But with bridging, like you said, security is super important. And with general message passing, there's not really much difference if you use one protocol to another, other than security and reliability. And Axelar, we think, are like top of game in both of those. So there's just no reason for us to use anyone else. Um, yeah,
why are they top of the game? Let's talk about like the security of this, because obviously this could be a concern of users.
totally. Yeah, yeah. This is how I got into cross chain back in like 2020. Um, I went and tried to talk to and understand from all the leaders in the space, of all the different interop solutions and the protocols being developed. And the first thing is to prevent hacks. And there's been, I don't know how much now, $3 billion probably dollars of hacks lost to bridging. Um, Wormhole's one of them, for example, who they fixed their problems, but they got hacked. There's um, Axie Infinity, I think, was like $600 million, something like this. So it's like really scary stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Most of the hacks come down to having a small validator set. And what a bridge does is it essentially takes custody, or it like locks assets on a source chain, and then it mints a version that represents this locked asset on the source chain.
Mm.
Um, and then if you break the thing in the middle, then you can unlock all of these locked funds and just take and steal them. That's what usually happens. And
Yeah.
say what
So
happened with
usually the liquidity providers are kind of screwed, right?
well, it's not even in this case. It's not the liquidity providers. It's more the people who've bridged funds. So if you've bridged,
Because they're
let's just
still
say,
wrapped, is it?
yeah, if you're holding wrapped funds on the
Mm.
destination chain, yeah.
Okay.
Um, Important thing with Squid is that part of our innovation was that you never hold wrapped funds. You actually
Hmm.
swap out of the wrapped fund into a native token on the destination chain. So the risk is actually very low from if you've used Squid, you're not at risk in the future if you use it. Or yeah. Anyway, so Axelar is a blockchain that runs proof of stake, which is the same as most chains these days, and they have 75 validators, which is a really high number for bridges. A lot of the bridges that were hacked had 4 validators, 6, 8 validators, 17. Um, and just having that 75 is so much safer because you have to successfully hack into 60, not 66%, technically only 33% to freeze it, but 66% to steal funds. So in Axelar's case, that's a lot. And the other thing around security is that there's a lot of the hacks are actually at the smart contract level, just like a normal DEX hack or whatever happens in DeFi. It's not to do with the proof of stake mechanism or the decentralization. It's purely just there's a smart contract bug and you can steal funds because of that. And Axelar have now been around for longer than most bridges, and they've had 75 audits. Their team are all PhDs and professors and things. So um, we feel really safe just working with them. Um, we think if any bridge has the possibility of surviving, then they do. So that's why we've chosen them.
Okay. That sounds good. And in terms of, you just mentioned that you don't receive wrapped assets, but I thought there was some cases where when we use Squid, you can get AXL USDC or something on a destination chain.
Yeah, so this is what happens when there is being slippage during the swap. So if we give you a price, with usually with the DAX, you set slippage so that it protects you from the price moving. If you get a quote on the front end and then you submit it, and the price has moved too much, like Ether's going up a lot or it's going down, then the trade doesn't execute because you want to be protected from selling all of your assets for essentially nothing. There could be anything that happens. So we set slippage with Squid, but if slippage happens on the destination chain, rather than spending all the gas to send it back, which could be costly, if you're going back to Ethereum, that could cost you $10, or going to Arbitrum, it could still cost you up to $1. We give you the bridged assets on the destination chain. So it's swapped from ETH to USDC, bridged to Axel USDC. The swap has stopped because of slippage, and then we send Axel USDC to your account, and then you have to swap Axel USDC to the final token that you wanted, accepting a new price. Um, it's my least favorite thing about user experience in Squid, and we've got a couple of ways that we're fixing it. First one is we are going to introduce something where we give you gas on the destination chain if this happens, and that ensures that you always have gas
Mm.
on the destination chain to swap out of Axel USDC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the second one is we're using intents, which is a whole other topic. But essentially, with intents, there's no um, there's no possibility that the swap doesn't work on the destination chain. It's
Mm-hmm.
always going to complete. Um, and yeah, we're really excited about bringing that to market. It's pretty close.
That sounds good. Sounds like you guys think all of these all of these pain points through, which remain. Uh, but in terms of gas, don't you always need the gas though? Like if I'm going bridging to some destination chain or cross chain swapping,
Hmm.
I want to go there for a reason, right? Which is gonna include doing transactions on a destination chain. So are you thinking about like providing gas in all contexts of a cross chain swap, or what do you think?
Yeah, we have that feature already. We allow
Okay.
you to turn it on if you don't have gas in the destination chain. And what it does is, say you're swapping 100 USDC and you want to get USDC on the destination chain, we usually swap about $2 of that into ETH or the other gas token on the destination chain. So you can onboard seamlessly. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, so it already exists. We'll have something in the front end where we check if you have gas in the destination chain, and if you don't, we'll suggest you turn this feature on.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the big ones where you kind of like
Mm.
uh lose faith in crypto when you're stuck
Yeah.
in that situation where you're like, I don't have the gas now. What? I'm going to some exchange, and then like it's just kills
I
you.
mean,
But you've lost hours suddenly. You know, you just get
yeah,
angry.
it's insane. I mean, that was the big use case that we started with. We were the first protocol who could do this. Like I didn't mention with LiFi, but a lot of their routes still you have to have gas in the destination chain to be able to do the second swap. But with us, you
Yeah,
never have to have gas in the destination chain. You can swap directly into Glimmer or into ETH Celo. Um,
yeah,
and I've gone through this every time we deploy to a new chain. I have to get gas to deploy our contracts,
yeah,
and it's insane. I have to spend, you have to go to different exchanges and have to try and get gas airdrops from different protocols. It's yeah,
yeah.
it's a
You
nice
must have a
reminder.
lot of centralized exchange accounts, like
Yeah,
different
exactly.
places. Right. So what's kind of next? You mentioned some of the chains that you're thinking about expanding things to. You mentioned Polkadot as well, which I'd be curious to hear about. Obviously, we're big supporters of Polkadot here at Teach Me DeFi, and also, I mean, it is a chain that is kind of like focused on interoperability. I believe does have its own like general message passing protocol under, right? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? And is that interesting perhaps for you guys as well in terms of implementation?
Yeah, definitely. We plan on implementing XCM, which is the messaging protocol on Polkadot. Um, been chatting with the Moonbeam team about it, and we will get there. We're just working through our roadmap, but um, really excited by Polkadot. The original scalers of this proof of stake model that we're in at the moment, and we started with Moonbeam, and then what we plan to do is enable XCM, which is going to allow us to connect to the other parachains. Um, we're also partnered with a project called Chainflip, which is built using Substrate, and they have native dot support, so you'll be able to swap between dot and Bitcoin and Ethereum and anything else that Squid supports. Um, really excited by that, and um, yeah, I can't give an ETA, but I think we'll hopefully chat with the wallets too. So another one of our close partners, um, wallets, which is Trust Wallet, MetaMask, these blockchain.com. They've all integrated Squid, so that inside the wallet you can move assets around one click. Um, and we'll work with the Polkadot wallets when we integrate XEM.
That would be cool because I think, don't take my word for it, but I think there's still a gap in terms of user experience there. Because, like, at least I don't know of the place where I can do all the um, cross chain bridging transactions in the Polkadot ecosystem with the XCM. I don't know, like, one user interface where I can do all that. Like, the ones I know, they appear to be there, but then some chains aren't integrated or something. So effectively, I can't do what I want then there, and I have to navigate to a specific website to do the cross chain sending to that specific parachain or whatever. So I think that could be interesting. I don't know if you also probably know about Talisman, the Talisman team.
Yeah,
We've
I've
had them on
spoken
the
to them.
show before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would
Would
be
love-
cool, perhaps.
exactly. Yeah, would love to be integrated into them. Um, yeah, I can only imagine. I think I've tried an XCM transfer once before, but when we get there, I'll be learning all about it. I can't imagine it's very good UX yet, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is really unfortunate, I think, because why should it? Why should things fail at that step, right? I mean, if the other stuff is good, because in terms of, I think the tech is appears to be really good. Like, also, like, I think it's pretty trust minimized, right? So it's like very secure bridging, and it's really fast. Like, the when I do the cross chain transaction through XCM, it goes through quite fast and it has finality, and I feel kind of at ease doing it.
definitely. Because it's within the Polkadot consensus. It's very secure, or it should be, apart from if there's any bugs. But yeah, it should be
Yeah,
secure and fast, which is amazing. Um, and you're right, you're totally right. That why is the front end layer the one that fails?
yeah,
I guess I worked as a UX and UI designer for years before I was in crypto, and so that's just naturally where I'm tempted to solve the problems.
right. Well, that's awesome. We need more figs in the space.
More
Um,
designers, definitely.
um, yeah, yeah. Well, it's been lovely. I'll take you up on one of the figs from your fig trees one day.
Yeah, we'll do a harvest, send it across to Germany.
Sweet, sweet. I can build a little fig business here, perhaps. That should be good. Another way of routing items for you, this time in the physical world.
Global routing. We'll be competing with Uber in no time.
Right. So, yeah, just to wrap this up, any last words, and perhaps where would you like to point listeners to get started with Squid or learn about it?
Just keep an eye out for our launch of V2, which is going to be coming very soon. Keep an eye out for the launch of Polkadot, sounds like. I might reach out when we're close. And yeah, that's where I'd point people. Go to our website, squidrouter.com, app.squidrouter.com. Check out V2 as it develops in the next few weeks, and on Twitter as well. Give you the links so you can share them.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll put them in the show notes. Thank you so much, Fig. That was really interesting show. I'm glad I learned more about Squid, even though I used your product before. Now I have more of an understanding. And yeah, happy to have you on anytime again.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. Chat to you soon.